I just want to emphasize that it is okay if you don't know how to feel right now. If you can't figure out the words to describe what you're feeling right now, it's okay to take a minute, think about how you feel, and process this before you respond. And it's completely okay to turn to social media to help find the words, but it's not okay to come to social media to tell you how to feel. You have your feelings. Everyone you're seeing has their feelings and they're sharing them. And a lot of them are sharing binary opinions. I am celebrating. I'm not celebrating. I condemn violence. This kind of violence is okay. It is okay to have multiple conflicting feelings with respect to this. And when you remember this, I find myself finding every response to this reasonable. I find myself seeing the people who are celebrating, like, yeah, that's reasonable, and seeing the people who are crying or saying, I condemn all violence or whatever, like, yeah, that's reasonable. There was Dean Withers who was crying because he watched a man get his jugular opened up. Doesn't matter how bad of a person that is. If you're not ready for that, it is very normal to have a physical, visceral reaction to gore like that, especially a person that you've seen in person before. That is a physical survival response in you that is very normal and very human to have. You're actually supposed to feel some kind of strong emotion to that. While on the other hand, this is a person who led in information campaigns to sway public opinion in support of fascism, where we live in a democracy that leads to elections won by fascists. This is a person who shrugged his shoulders at kids' deaths. This is a person who proverbially danced on the graves of Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, people who were murdered by police and then advocated for the police to be pardoned. Imagine if I came back and said, I think the sniper should be pardoned because well, Charlie was on drugs when he was there, or he was a convicted felon, or he said all these bad things, so he deserved it, right? That's effectively what Charlie has spent years saying about George Floyd, Breonna Taylor. When I hear people criticizing those celebrating it, they say, like, oh, you shouldn't get killed for your political beliefs. This plays into the classic thing where conservatives think that thinking people deserve the same rights and opportunities as everyone else, or we can save lives by just moving our policy a little bit to the left, are political opinions. Right? Like, my political opinions are, I think trans people are mentally ill and I think they're indoctrinating our kids, even though all of the science and evidence says otherwise. Right? And it leads to trans people harming themselves and or killing themselves. And it's just like, well, I just believe that undocumented immigrants are criminals and they don't deserve due process. No, actually, everyone in this country deserves due process as mandated by the Constitution of this country. We're ripping apart families. We're leading to people dying. And it's like, no, we're capitalists.
Tens of thousands of people die in this country every year because of lack of reliable access to housing.
And if we talk about guaranteeing shelter, you call it socialism or communism. And therefore, we can't do it because those things are just automatically bad. We're talking about people's rights as human beings and saving lives. And you again chalk it up to political beliefs. It's just my personal political beliefs. You're talking about politics. We're talking about humans. And so when I see people being like, this is awful, he died because of his political opinions. And it's like his political opinions were harmful and did damage and caused death. That's why they're celebrating it. And I get it. And I also get being like, I don't want this to happen. That's why I advocate for gun control, because this could have potentially stopped this from happening. And it's like, well, he was just a person who used his words to try to talk to people. And this person used guns. And I think a lot of people are talking about how stricter gun control could have potentially stopped this from happening. But another way that if we ignored Charlie, maybe he would still be alive, is in the way of masculinity. The traditional idea of men is women use their words, men use their fists. Men use their guns, men wage wars when their pride gets stepped on. And this is a person who, assuming it actually was just a politically motivated killing, which we don't really know right now, and as more information comes out, it's looking more and more like some kind of professional was hired or something. This is a person who said, words are not enough. I need to use violence. I need to use my fists or my guns. And that is something that Charlie fought to uphold, that men are supposed to commit action. They're supposed to physically stand up and use their fists while the women use their words. And that's why I've always been against that, because this is just going to lead to more violence. We all want peace. We want to figure out a way to peace, and violence just begets more violence. Martin Luther King is even one who agreed with me on that. While at the same time, I also feel like if Charlie Kirk continued spewing bigotry, he would continue to cause violence.
This has me thinking about the paradox of tolerance, where if you advocate for tolerance and that starts to include intolerant people, by allowing intolerance in, you're actually creating a less tolerant society overall. And I think the same thing applies to this, right? I want peace. I don't want people to get shot like this. But if Charlie Kirk continuing to live in peace leads to thousands or millions of people experiencing more violence or death, that's less peace overall.
I don't know. I know I'm talking in circles here, but this is why I'm saying, like, I'm struggling to put into words how I'm feeling, and that's a normal human thing. The whole point of this video is just to say how you feel about it is how you feel about it. It doesn't make it any more or less valid that that's in line with what someone on the internet said or not.